Magic 95.9 FM, 95.9 FM, Victoria.
The Wade and Carter Show is KHFC Magic 95 assumes no responsibility for its content, and the Wade and Carter Show bears all responsibilities for their opinions and guests on their show.
Master debaters, John Paul Hall, World Series, all that and more coming up on today's Wade and Carter Show. Inadvertently just lumped you in as a master debater.
No touching of the.
Hey, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Good, you?
I'm good. Welcome to the Wade and Cabo Show.
There you go.
Or is it the Wade and Caleb Show?
Wade and Hull today. Got to fix the banner on that one.
I mean, it's going down from how it's been. It's been so good.
It's been so good this week without Brent. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's probably true.
I expect
Caleb's so good. I mean, he is a pro to have in here. I mean, Brent's. You can tell you're a radio pro, but as you watch
that far, but I appreciate the sentiment.
As you watch Brent's gotten very good as well. But Caleb's just a rock star watching him do this.
He is pretty solid, isn't he?
So I'm trying to set the bar low.
It's not going to be low. What's that for? So the next time you come back, you can knock it out of the park? Is that kind of how it works?
No, for today.
Oh, just for today. Gotcha. I like how that goes. Let's get the weather out of the way. Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the fine folks at Deerland Feed Store. Go see Lacey for all your farm and ranch needs, pet and garden, lawn, whatever. They've got it all, and they do a great job. Personal service. They'll load your vehicles, they'll load your trucks. You don't have to do any of that. Absolutely awesome folks there. And today's weather, 73 right now, 91 for the high. A lot of fog, so really be careful coming in. I mean, to the point where I was doing like 10 miles an hour and barely keeping it on the road because you couldn't see the road. So,
I mean, there is a lot of fog. It is. I was thinking, I lived in San Francisco for a while, and it is San Francisco foggy outside.
Really?
I mean,
dense fog advisory in effect. I just saw that.
There
so
you go.
That would be why. That would be why.
Thick.
It is. And you live in town and you're battling the fog this
Right.
morning. So that just gives you an idea of just how bad it is. So how's things in your world?
Everything's good. Speaking of Brent, does he live in Cabo now? I mean, I feel like he's almost there more than he's here.
You're not the only one starting to feel that way. Let's see who's in this morning.
Let's go through it.
Now the Meyer checking in. Let's see who the first one is, though. Scott Tomko, first in. Good morning, sir. H.R. Mallory, I got a little worried. I'll give you my H.R. Mallory story yesterday. I'm driving home from work, and all of a sudden I see this trooper beside me, and I'm like, is he pacing me? Or is this trooper pacing me? What's going on here? Because then I look down, I'm doing 70, so I'm fine. I look over, and there's a big grin and H.R. Mallory looking at me. So
Didn't pull you over.
Didn't pull me over. He had no reason to. So I wasn't speeding, but I got a little worried. That little hiccup when you think you're speeding and you're not. But I thought I was being paced. But no, he was the roads. The 87 to Cuero was safe because H.R. Mallory was on duty. CW Bean, good morning. Chris Conrad checking in. Bobby Leister, Lisa Poole, Patrick Strauss, Marvin Mickish.
Morning.
Justin Glass, Randy Langston, Jeremy Pena says it's a fantastic Friday. Bobby Leister. 295 YouTubers on the Leisterometer. I did 15 overnight.
That's good.
That is good. Not sure how we dropped from 3 something, but
Right, it was 302 for a while. What happened?
I think it was about 312 at one point.
You must have offended him this week.
I don't know how Brent wasn't here. Judge Posey, good morning. There's my daughter Tyler checking in. James Kurth. Says, I'm looking mighty Letterkenny this morning. That's the look I was going for, James, so I appreciate you catching on. Matt Boucher, want to give a shout-out to the Victoria Master Gardeners. They have an online plant sale that is underway now. Go to their Facebook page. You can get the link. The link went live at midnight. They didn't want anybody like sneaking in and pre-shopping. You can buy today, you can buy tomorrow, and then I think you can pick up on Sunday. But if you've never been to their plant sale at the airport, absolutely phenomenal. Great plants. Got to get there early to get them, but right now they're available online. So check out the Victoria Master Gardeners online plant sale.
What is Kurt talking? Is he talking trash to me? I can't.
He says you're looking buff.
Well, I've been working out a lot. No, I have a 1-year-old. The only workout I'm doing is chasing this crazy child I have. So either the 7-year-old that's named Harper or the 1-year-old that's named Cavender. That's it. There's no working out.
Harper will appreciate it. Shout out. Cavender won't know what's going on. So which arm is bigger? Which arm does Cavender spend most of the time in?
The beating arms.
Nice.
I'm kidding.
I know,
everybody
I know
out there,
you
I'm
are,
kidding.
but there's a whole bunch that won't.
There's no beatings going on.
There's been anything with the rise of Trump derangement syndrome is the lack that we've lost the ability to laugh in this country. Karen Webb checking in. Pablo Perez. Good morning. Pat McDonald. Scott Snow. Terry Murray. Nikki Vincent.
Morning.
Natalie Mayer. So it was not 65 of that portion of 87. HR, don't give me that. Michael Jolly, good morning. So I put you on the spot. You had to watch a debate. I know the first one got your blood pressure up a little bit. This one I thought Kristen Welker did a good, she's probably the best of the moderators, if you even including the town hallers.
Yeah, especially since Trump had already kind of thrown her under the bus beforehand.
And I think that's why she reined it in. I really do, because he was already, and he's good at this. He was painting himself the underdog coming in. If a sitting president could ever be an underdog in a debate, it's been these ones, because the first one he was unfairly treated. Every question was set up with supposition and almost antagonizing preface before the question got asked. This one, at least, I thought she did a fairly good job of trying. As it got on, I think her bias started to show a little bit in the questions, but early on, she did a pretty good job of not doing any of the, prefacing garbage. But of the debate moderator and the town hall moderators, I think she's probably the best of the four that we saw.
I agree. I mean, I think
this year.
But to me, watching that debate, the term that kept coming in my head was benign. Like it just didn't move the needle, I don't think. I mean, I don't think there was anything that you learned. There wasn't anything shocking to me that you were like, wow, that's going to really change somebody's mind.
No, I think most people's minds were made up. I think, if anything, Joe Biden might have heard his stance in, his native Pennsylvania. It's interesting how many times he flip-flopped on that. Sometimes he's from Scranton in the debate. Other times he's from Delaware. Which is it, Joe? You're a Scranton boy, Claremont boy, or you're a Delaware guy? I mean, I just don't quite get it.
I mean, you kind of do that too. We don't know if you're from Russia or Canada, so
you'll never know. But I think if he lost any support, it might have been those that might have leaned a little bit Democrat up in Pennsylvania, but they rely on the fracking industry for their paychecks and to keep the roofs over their head, because all you have to do is YouTube Joe Biden and fracking, and you will see all the times he's been asked that question
and said, shut it down.
Shutting it down.
Yep.
And I think the most benign answer he gives with that is, well, at some point we've got to end it. But make no mistake, it's coming to an end, folks, if Joe Biden is elected. And that spells, you want to see how that will cripple a state? All you have to do is look to, I'm going to go with Joe Biden here, my Canadian roots and look at what Justin Trudeau and the laws that have been and the decisions that have been acted in Canada and how they have crippled the oil industry in Alberta. Because Alberta is basically Canada's Texas without good Mexican food and warm summers. We'll leave it at that. But the oil industry is as important to Alberta as it is to Texas. And if you want to see a federal government absolutely destroy one region's economy, there's your answer. And there's your example.
Is he a left lean? I don't know. I mean, I know who he is, but
Yeah.
is he pretty far left?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He makes Joe Biden and look like a centrist.
I mean, nobody's traveled for a long time, really. But to me, people in Alberta really would fit in South Texas. And so, surprisingly, we've had a lot of people that work for us from Israel that they would definitely fit in. I mean, they were such big U.S. fans that if they were here right now, they would fit right in almost immediately. They get the cultural references, they get the movie references.
It's interesting that Canadians like to think that they're above the type of politics that's going on in this country right now. They're as divided as the United States and as fractured as the U.S. when it comes to, and they've got more folks. They've got 5 different parties they can choose from up there. So I made some notes. We can kind of go through this and see. Joe Biden's most uncomfortable moments, obviously, and I don't recall a flat denial of any of Hunter Biden's dalliances. Flat out lied when he said Hunter Biden didn't get any money from anybody. I mean,
I'm kind of surprised. I'm surprised he doesn't just address that directly and go, look, he got paid and I wasn't involved. I think at this point he almost has to do that. So I'm surprised he's still dodging that bullet.
I'm not. He's dodged almost any hard topic throughout this campaign except for coronavirus. But I still, and I can't believe people pin Joe Biden almost took the coronavirus argument yesterday to a global stage of blaming Donald Trump for the entire global pandemic. It almost got there yesterday. From my perspective, the way he was sort of talking about it, and I was like, really, Joe, you're going here? But the fact that people still blame one person for a virus wreaking havoc absolutely, completely blows my mind. There's no cloaking device that stops this thing from attacking people or infecting people. Donald Trump doesn't have the cloaking device or he wouldn't have got the virus.
Right. And why not? I mean, every other leader of every other country isn't getting blamed. So that is, to me, that's such an odd, I mean, maybe it works publicly that maybe they know that, maybe they're polling and they go, you know what, we can blame COVID on Trump and it'll win. But that is such an odd path for me to go. It's like, I mean, what are you going to do? It's, happens once every, I don't know, 100 years.
Yeah, this one seems to be about 100 years in its,
It feels like it.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've been in it for about 100 years, but we haven't really seen one like this since, the Spanish flu of 1918. But I thought the president brought up a pretty good point that if the H1N1 hadn't just sort of disappeared, we would have been in a whole lot worse situation back then under the Obama-Biden administration than how it turned out. They kind of sigh of relief and mop the brow because they didn't have to deal with a pandemic that turned out really deadly, and they kind of kept it quiet until it was over.
You'll have to ask Brent about what it was like living during that Spanish flu.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. He was just a wee lad running around in rompers, but he probably remembers it. Because people were just dropping left and right.
The reason we're doing that is because Brent's not here, so then we get to make fun of him as much as often. I mean, as much as possible.
Larry Lays is blame the virus creator China. That's exactly where the blame lies. They delayed letting anybody know about anything, and then lied about how dangerous it was and how infectious it was. But then all of a sudden, President Trump gets heaps of blame. And that was the first, half hour, 15, 20 minutes of the debate last night was that. And they really talked in circles about nothing that we didn't already know. And there was a lot of that yesterday in the debate.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Trump wasn't as orange. I don't know if that's by design when he gets on the debate stage, but
I thought he was pretty orange.
did you? Or maybe it was my TV. But I thought Joe Biden looked like he was ready to go lay in a casket on his final day. It was weird.
To me, that first debate, he really looked stretched. I don't know. Everything looked stretched.
He's had a few facelifts, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But as I teased last night before I went to bed, here's the biggest takeaway for me. We're talking about two rich white guys, one uber rich, one who's gotten rich off the back of taxpayers and won't answer questions about how his family has gotten rich off the back of taxpayers. Trying to relate with that. I don't know. That's kind of
old rich white guys.
Yeah.
I mean, really old.
But I mean, Donald Trump is, I think, easier to relate to a common person than Joe Biden. Joe Biden looks uncomfortable. When he started trying to talk about your family, and I know it creeped a lot of people out when he was talking about envisioning you lying in bed last night. Joe, stop it. Don't go there, Joe. We don't need you. We'll save that for Jeffrey Toobin. We don't need you to envision us in bed.
That's so funny.
That was weird last night. Even my wife, because I was watching it in the living room making notes, and she was watching it in the bedroom. She comes out and she goes, Joe Biden just creeped me out saying that he's watching me in my bedroom.
She's like, I'm cringing. That's so funny.
So there was that moment during yesterday's debate. Joe did his best right off the bat to try to fearmonger 40,000 Americans in the hospital with the COVID virus. We're a country of 330 plus million people. I don't get any correlation there as to why that number was relevant during yesterday's debate, other than to try to strike fear into the minds of viewers, because it's so statistically irrelevant.
Do you think Trump's doing enough to hammer across the point that other countries are probably lying about their numbers? I mean, come on. Some of those numbers are ridiculous that are coming from different countries.
Like China?
Or is he not hammering enough that we're testing way more than anybody else? I mean, I think he's hit that point a bunch, but I'm not sure he's hit the point about, how underreported and how much other countries are probably just straight up lying.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know that it wins you any points if you're Trump, because they're now, as I mentioned, it seems like they're trying to blame him for the world's problems with this pandemic. Judge Posey says, watch it with the really old.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, Judge. We'll tone it down a little bit.
He's so good. He's about to have a new show too, right? He's going to start.
No, not Don Posey. Bill Posey's going to have a new show.
Sorry.
Yeah. Bill wouldn't tell us to watch it with the really old. Bill would judo chop us in the shoulders and render us useless, and then that would be it. No more old remarks. We'd be done. So
it's funny. That's funny.
Let's see. Yeah, Biden says Trump was responsible, and this is where I got mad. It's an effing virus I typed out. I mean, he didn't create the virus.
I mean, that was kind of the heated part of the debate, right?
It really was, yeah.
Right into that 40-minute mark.
Yeah. And that got me about as heated up as I got last night. Biden talked about the move to rapid testing. We're already there, Joe. Rapid testing is available, widely available. He was asked what he would do in the next stage. And isn't it interesting? We've been hearing about the next stage of this virus for 6 months now. And then at points yesterday, it was sort of teased that, well, we're into the third stage. I didn't realize. He would have national standards to reopen. Heard that word a lot yesterday. Federal and national from Joe Biden. there was a lot of indication that if Joe Biden is elected, the federal government will start reaching into areas of your life and my life and the lives of states and really start getting into areas that the federal government has no business being in and no constitutional bounds to go there, even though they've been doing that for a long time. But that was one big takeaway. A lot of national, a lot of federal actions by Joe Biden.
I mean, what would that even mean? That they mandate masks from the federal level? Is that
well, he said we would ensure people, we would encourage people to wear masks. Joe, you soften that up because you've talked about a federal mask mandate. You softened it last night for the viewers because, again, TV viewers intellectually are not the smartest. You write for below middle school education when you write for TV. So he kind of dumbed that down, and then he took all credit for the virus. He said, I will end it. Joe, what do you have? What superpower do you have that the minute you're elected, you will end the virus? I thought that was one of the most asinine statements I think I've heard this election season. I will end it. Boom. Joe Biden. Thank you.
I think it's shocking that the COVID has become the main stance for the election. I mean, I think that's a jarring part of when we look back and we're going to go who won or who lost, and you're going to go, it was based on a virus. It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. Time for a first break. Alan's Record Service. I won't be surprised if Alan has a ton of calls this morning with the fog. People are not going to see the road. They're going to be in the ditch. People are not going to see other vehicles. There's already enough morons on the road around here that drive with their lights off in the morning when I'm coming in when it's dark. I can only imagine those same idiots don't turn their lights on when it's foggy either. So turn your lights on, folks. Let somebody else see you. And unless you're absolutely sure, don't cross the road because the fog is so thick, you're not going to see the headlights till they're right on you.
Yeah, and give some people a little bit of more room today.
Yeah. But Alan's Record Service number to call, 578-6300. I mean, I'll be honest. If I wasn't doing 10 miles an hour today, not only would I probably run off the road, I would have hit a deer because there was a deer standing like right. I had to slide over a little bit because he wasn't moving, or she, I couldn't tell.
And there is no better person than Alan Miller. I mean,
no,
it's as good as it gets.
Alan, Janet, the whole gang just take care of you, and they don't take advantage of the situation. They don't charge astronomical rates. It's very affordable, and they're very responsive, and they're growing their empire, and they're becoming more responsive. They're now on 59 on the way to Edna. They've got a nice new yard there, easy to get to if you happen to have a issue in your car that's there, or if you're heading down to the valley, they're now in Refugio. So they've got you covered pretty much from here to Corpus, and they'll even take vehicles all the way around wherever you need them. They've done that as well in the past. VCS, Rocket Oilfield Services, the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer. Give the folks at VCS a call for any of your communication needs, whether you're building a home and you want your home wired with the latest technology, they can provide that for you. They can even get the latest technology in your hand.
And I have some funny VCS stories too.
Oh, do you?
Well, one, when I was a kid, we would go into the original store on Navarra. JR was a little bit younger than me, but still a buddy. And his dad was always there working and always willing to give advice.
His dad is always there working now.
Right. And we've tasked them with just some crazy stuff. We've asked them to build some hidden electronic doors. We're about to task them with making a hidden wall swing open. So
really?
We've tasked them with some crazy stuff. So I think anything that you have that's electronic, challenge those guys. They'll do it. And they're good. I mean,
they are.
They show up. I think you and I have talked about gates before that they've done, and I had that fear this morning when I came out. My gate was like half open, and so it didn't close all the way last night, which they didn't do the gate. I just moved to a new house, and I go, oh no, what if I can't fully open this gate? Ash is going to give me a hard time because I can't make it. So that panic sets in for a second.
Did it work?
It worked. Oh, well, yeah.
Well, you're here.
I didn't have to ram it.
No, that's good. That's good. Yeah, they could probably do a panic room for you too.
Right.
I bet you they could do one of those. What are those wallets that you can get, the RFD protectors or whatever they're called? What are those things called? You can block out all the people trying to steal all your data off your magnetic chips and stuff.
Yeah, probably.
They could probably do one of those rooms for you too, that panic room. And don't forget the Chesnick Furniture Company right down in beautiful downtown Victoria, 116 West Juan Lynn. Bobby Leon and the folks at Chesnick do just a great job of providing furniture for Victoria and the surrounding area. They've been in business for 100 years, and they're offering 50% off all furniture during their 100th birthday celebration. And since he's here, I'm going to give JP a chance to talk about Razor IT Solutions.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, we do anything. We first of all say usually we're problem solvers. So anything digital, online, computer systems that you handle, whatever it is. I know that, I've shown Brent the number of people that try to hack anything that you have, whether it's your email or your website.
Is he exaggerating when he says it's crazy where where the countries come from, China, Russia? Is he legit on that?
Oh yeah, he's right on. And you can come to our offices anytime. We have a big screen TV that we can put that stuff up on and show you. So if we can help with anything, we're working with here locally lately, Victoria County. We work with a number of politicians that are, most of them we tell them we'll never talk about. George and Barbara Bush are probably the most well-known that we work with, and we run, everything out of Victoria for their foundation. So
really,
yeah,
keeping all the data safe and all the transactions and all that. Is that kind of how? Or
yeah, and all still there. They have they're funded to do events and fundraisers and things like that they still are associated with.
Okay.
And so we do all the promotions for them.
Okay. So all the social, is it all digital promotion stuff?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Oh, see, I didn't know you had that. I didn't know that was your capabilities as well. Cool. Awesome. Anything else you need to add before we move on to the next round of debate analysis?
Let's go down your list.
Yeah. So a little bit more on that. They did ask about the vaccine, and I thought the president was very honest when he said that it's not a guarantee. I think anybody who knows anything about vaccines knows that's the case.
But he kind of pushed that it was coming in the next couple of weeks, right? In the beginning.
A little bit, but I mean, we covered it about 2 weeks ago that Victoria's been told to be ready for this thing in early November. So, I mean, it could be just around the corner. And I did like also the fact that he talked about protecting the vulnerable, protecting the elderly and those who need to be protected so that the rest of the country can get on with their lives. And we've kind of said that from the get-go. And if that might have been the approach, I think we would have been a whole lot better off than where we are now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, if we just said, hey, if you're, over 65, sorry to anybody that's over 65, but if you're over 65 and you have a heart condition, maybe stay home. Everybody else, let's get rolling.
Yeah. And then they'll always point to that one. Well, now there's one person who's 17 who just died from it. Well, I mean, it's going to happen. And again, in a country of 330 some odd million people, you point to that one. It's anecdotal and doesn't really bear anything. He said it would be available in a few weeks, and he said he would use the military and its logistics ability to help distribute 110 million vials, I think was the number he said, or 100 million vials. And 110 was another number that came up because talked about, where did I have that? I had that somewhere here too, about 110 million people with pre-existing conditions. A third of our country has some issue that leaves them more vulnerable to the coronavirus. That seems like a really large number. And all it tells me, it paints a picture of a very unhealthy country. When you start talking, a third of our country is a pre-existing condition that leaves them more vulnerable to that.
I think a third of the country already said they wouldn't take the vaccine too.
So a third that want it can get it. Joe Biden said, shut down the virus, not the country. Joe, you just blame the president for not shutting down the country. But again, how do you shut down a virus, Joe? I can't wrap my hand around that because it's a virus.
I think that's the hardest thing is why doesn't he present a plan and go, hey, here's the 5 steps that I would have done differently? I mean, what would you have done? You know, nobody's been through this kind of pandemic before to know what to do. I'm assuming Trump has some pretty smart advisors around him that would go, here's what I would do in your situation. And I don't know. It's you wish that Biden would, do a little bit more to go, hey, here's the 5 things that I would do that would have cured the virus, not just I'm going to solve the virus.
Randy Gutenberger asks, how has New York not had any significant COVID issues since April or May? They flatlined. How does the virus know to avoid New York? I think I'm no scientist here, but I think it's just the way a virus moves through a country. I mean, the hot spot early on was New York and Seattle. To me, the obvious entry points of people flying from China to this country is New York and Seattle. And now it's starting to move its way through the country. And it's taken a little bit of time because we have pretty much shut down the country. We did restrict travel among states at times. I think that's how it happens. I mean, New York, probably with the number of infections, there's probably some herd immunity in New York already that's allowed that to happen. They haven't. They've continued to stay shut down. I got a friend who owns a bar there, and he's absolutely livid that at first he was okay. Well, we'll do our part. Now he's like, okay, I got to feed and have a career here, and there's nothing.
I could have a long conversation about people that are leaving New York or San Francisco that are just done. They're, leaving those towns. It's going to be super fascinating to me from a real estate and a business and, a whole bunch of different angles to see what happens a year from now, to see if it was a temporary, let's get out of town, or if it's going to be a permanent thing.
Well, it'll fix the housing prices that they all claim that they need $35 an hour minimum wage in California to allow people to live.
Yeah,
there's a positive.
The problem is they're all moving here.
Yeah, that is the problem.
They're all moving to southern states.
Yeah. Judge Posey asked if the East-West game will be streamed live somewhere tonight. You know what, Joe? I don't know. Or Judge, I don't know. That I don't know. I know it'll be on the radio, but I don't know if it'll be live streamed anywhere. Monica Joe says Biden will shut the virus down. What did she say? It moved on me. Simply by telling his media to quit fixating and reporting out on it. The old out of sight, out of mind mentality. You probably got a point there. It makes you wonder just how much of the issue. And he brought up the children in cages yesterday. I thought that was another one that was really good. And boy, did he get uncomfortable and nervous when President Trump started hammering him on who built the cages, Joe? Who built the cages, Joe? Joe Biden didn't say a word. We all know the answer.
Yeah, it was Obama.
It was the Obama-Biden administration. But I was glad to see the president finally take a stand on that because we have had multiple Border Patrol, law enforcement, Sheriff Louderback, if he's checking in, knows the answer to this. 525 kids is what Joe Biden said. We've ripped from the arms of their parents. The numbers are staggering. The percentage are staggering. Of those 525, if my memory serves me right, about 80% of those kids didn't come here with their parents. They came here, as the president pointed out, with a coyote, with a smuggler, somebody who wasn't their mom and dad, but they were told to tell them it was their mom and dad. We've got all sorts of translators at the border. If it was a case of these kids being in this room and the parents being over here, they'd be reunited and back together. There's a reason they're having troubles finding 525 parents, sets of parents, as Joe Biden put it, because they're nowhere in the vicinity. If they did come across the parents probably left them behind because they didn't get caught, which I doubt happened. But the fact is, the coyotes and the smugglers and the others are the reason that these kids don't have their parents, because they were taken from their parents long before they ever got to the border of the United States.
All right, what's next on your
on my list?
Are we done with your
Oh no, there's this is an hour and a half. Joe Biden at one point said the federal government needed to provide plexiglass to restaurants so they can reopen. If the restaurants in this city that I have seen put plexiglass in had to wait for plexiglass from the federal government, Joe, they'd still be waiting for plexiglass from the federal government. They took it upon themselves to do the things they need to do to reopen their business when they were allowed to reopen. It's a topic for another day because that was more state and local, not federal. But these are the kinds of things that Joe Biden hinted at that should scare you if you're an undecided voter, because this is the overreach that the federal government will I don't want to say begin, because the federal government has already begun to overreach. This is more overreach the federal government will implement on the daily lives of Americans if Joe Biden is elected.
I mean, doesn't the plexiglass, you order in front of the plexiglass, then they get your food and walk around and hand it to you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't make a lot of sense.
No. And he talked about plexiglass and booths. Well, if I'm sitting with my back to the people behind me, the plexiglass ain't doing much, and it never goes all the way up to the roof. So if this thing's spread via whatever.
I have a whole bunch of questions about that. I don't understand if I'm going to walk into a restaurant, have to have a mask, which I will do. But then when I sit down, I can take it off. It's okay. It makes no sense to me. I feel like people just look at me and go, you don't have to even have us. Here in Victoria, I feel like people look at me and go, you don't have to have that on, dude.
Yeah. Travis got no access. I'm so glad the germs haven't figured out how to go around the plexiglass yet.
Right. That's funny.
It's like a hockey player getting slammed up against the glass with their body check. But let's see. I thought Donald Trump did a good job talking about the problems related to COVID that we're starting to see: the suicides, the destitution, the poverty, the homelessness, and point blank said the cure can't be greater or cause greater problems than the problem itself. And I thought that was a pretty poignant moment.
I thought those guys mentioned that. I thought Trump mentioned that in the very beginning. So 8 months ago, I feel like he was kind of hammering on that a little bit. And I mean, I can tell you personally, if you have a 6 or 7 year old and a 1 year old and you're at home and schools aren't open, you're going to go through, depression's an understatement.
Yeah.
You're going to lose your mind.
Stir crazy is probably more an accurate description of it, isn't it?
Yeah. I think after probably the 6 months, that's when the teachers should have said time for a raise, and everybody would have voted for it. That's when they should have done the bond issue, was right at that COVID. 6 month mark.
Get the kids out of here. Build more schools and smaller classrooms. Give them all their own classroom. I thought Donald Trump's weirdest moment when he went on a rant accusing Joe Biden of making money from Wall Street. And let's be honest here, the only reason Donald Trump says he isn't making money on Wall Street anymore is because all the Wall Street banks have stopped lending to him. At least his businesses. I mean, that was a weird rant. Maybe the weirdest Trump moment of the debate.
Right.
But Trump's
made a bunch of money off of financing deals, so that is an odd moment.
And maybe the weirdest Biden moment was when he was saying, I don't know what the president has said to Putin or the leaders of these other countries that are a national, security risk. Well, nobody does, Joe. That's the whole point. If we all knew what he was saying, wouldn't be much need for any national security advisors or anything else. We'd just be laying all our cards on the table and then come steamroll right over us. There's a reason you don't know.
On that, I thought it was so odd this week. No, I don't know if it's odd. I'd have to go back and look and see if any other president has ever stumped for somebody else, because Obama kind of publicly gave endorsement and went out and did a speech. I don't know if
nobody showed up to.
I don't know if that's ever happened before. I mean, I'd be interested.
Well, he did it for Hillary Clinton too. Obama did.
So anybody besides Obama have they ever? I mean, usually, the gentleman's agreement is when you leave office, you kind of stop doing stuff like that. So that's super. I mean, to me, that is pretty fascinating to watch that. Not that, and he hasn't done a ton for Biden. For Biden being a vice president under Obama, I think this week is the only week I can remember that he actually went out and did went to a rally and promoted.
Yeah, I don't recall him doing it. I also don't forget, he waited until Joe Biden was the last man standing amongst all the Democratic nominees before he actually went out on a limb and endorsed them.
Right.
That's a ringing endorsement. I endorsed Joe Biden. There's nobody else, Barack. He's the last one. Everybody's dropped off the stage. There's nobody else. That to me was as telling as anything about Barack Obama's confidence in Joe Biden, that he didn't have the ability, or he didn't have the wherewithal to when right before the first debate, Joe Biden's my guy. I endorse him. He was my vice president for 8 years. He should be your next president. Where was that message?
I mean, I think as a president, he needed to be quiet, but I agree with you too that, you would think that out of all the people, he would have come out and said, hey, this guy I worked with for 8 years, let's go with him.
And I agree with him kind of being quiet, but at the same time, he was your VP for 8 years.
Right.
I mean, if you're gonna stick your neck out for anybody, wouldn't that have been the guy you gave the presidential medal to? Hung that baby blue ribbon around his neck. I think, wasn't that the one? And nothing. Break time. So much in this debate that was to talk about, and we're just getting started, folks. You're tired of starting up a jalopy? Go to Assenhofer dealerships. Right there in North Navarro, since 1926, Assenhofer's have been selling brand new Chevrolets. They've now got Mazdas, Mitsubishi, Cadillac. I keep looking. I haven't seen it yet, but I didn't drive by this morning, and the fog was thick anyway. But I keep looking to see if they've got the new Corvette. I really like the look of the new Corvette.
I saw one in town, and I also know that they have a new Escalade that's, at least it was last week, inside. So,
yeah, we talked a little bit about that one because we did see that one through the windows. They won't let me anywhere near it. As soon as I step on the lot, the security's there and keep me back. They don't even let Brent on a lot when he starts drooling over that thing because he'll mess it up. But looking for that new Corvette. I bet you they'll take pre-orders on it. Get online, get yourself one for all the body work that you might need for all your service. Assenhofer is the place to go. White Trash Services. Give the fine folks at White Trash a call, 550-1826 for all your trash collection needs in Victoria and the 5 surrounding counties, as well as Rockport and Holiday Beach. I'm sure if you're in the Lake McQueenie area, BJ can pull some strings and get your trash service there as well. Have a trash-tastic day at White Trash Services.
What's the big announcement that they're?
She keeps teasing it. I'm sure we'll find out next week, or as soon as BJ says she'll let us know as soon as she can.
I mean, at this point, it better be big after this amount of tease. So yeah. I'm just telling you, BJ, it has to be a giant announcement.
See, our listeners are curious and eager, BJ.
If it's that you're dropping off a roll-off container, outside of the studio, that is not going to cut it.
To put our show in.
Right, to throw this show away.
And don't forget Uncle Mutt's Barbecue, 7 days a week. They're open. They've reopened inside now. You can go in and grab and sit down and have the best barbecue in town. Brisket, chicken, ribs, sausage, turkey. It's all available. You can still drive through. They'll open around 11 o'clock this morning, and they'll be open until 8 o'clock tonight. So stop on by and enjoy barbecue. And we'll finish up the breaks. Don't forget Gray Barn, the Gray Barn, and all the event design that Cheryl does. She does a great job, and she can design and help you plan and execute any event that you want, from a wedding to a birthday party to Brent's funeral. She can do it all. And
don't you want somebody to come and help you out and not have to worry about that? I mean,
I do.
If you think about I think everybody thinks about, to me, like at my wedding, you think it's going to be a whole lot of fun, and then all it is you're managing people and stuff going on. I mean, our wedding was fun, but it's a lot of management.
Yeah.
And if you can lay that off on somebody else, man, that is gold.
And as the business has sort of evolved, it's sort of becoming more into the event planning and even the event management. But her emphasis is designing it and making it look great, but she can help you in other ways as well. So give Cheryl a call, 920-6803. Wendt Services for all your electrical needs. Wendt is my go-to. They're the place you need to go to for all your electrical needs. From simple installation, maybe you're remodeling a home, they can rewire a kitchen for you as you update appliances and accessories. They can provide a whole home backup generator for you as well. Kohler, Briggs & Stratton, Cummins, all the great brands of generators, from diesel to natural gas to propane, and they have a plumber on site, on staff, that can come and get it all hooked up. And so you're no longer waiting on other subcontractors to find time to go do it. They've got it all there. They'll get it done in short order, and they're very affordable. Give them a call. You'll see how the amazing thing with whole home generators, in the last 10 years, prices on these things have dropped dramatically. I mean, you're now talking about the cost of not even a decent used vehicle. Maybe about what it would have cost to buy a first car for you or me as a kid. That's kind of where we are in the ballpark for a whole home generator, depending on the size of your home. So give Wendt a call, and you'll see how affordable that peace of mind is. And don't forget USA Concrete Coatings. You've got a drab-looking drab piece of concrete. They can come in, clean it up, resurface it, give you a whole brand new look to that patio in the backyard. So give them a call.
The first car I bought with my own money was a 1976 Scout International for $300.
Don't you wish you still had that
I
vehicle?
would do almost anything to have that car back.
318 in it?
Oh, good question. Probably,
because they used Dodge engines back then.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it's actually a funny story that
J-Dub had a Scout International. He had the pickup truck. Did you have the Blazer type version or the SUV type version, or did you have the
it didn't have
truck?
a roof?
Oh,
so I bought it without the roof.
Oh, no wonder. 500.
There's no winter in Victoria.
It was going to be 500 if you wanted the roof, right?
Yeah, probably. No, I didn't buy it new. I mean, I'm not that old. But it's a funny story because it didn't run, so that's why they sold it for $300. But all that was really bad was the starter switch or the ignition switch. And so we went to Radio Shack, bought a button, and just drilled right into the dashboard and put a button in it to start it. And,
you had the first push button start car in Victoria.
Right.
You're way ahead of your time.
But I ended up loaning it to a friend that needed a car, and I came back. I was, in school and away from Victoria, and came back, and he had had it totally repainted, reupholstered, and said, "Here's the keys. Thanks for letting me use it." And I immediately was like, "Let's sell this sucker. Let's make some money. I'm broke." And so we sold it, and the people were trying to go to Houston, didn't make it, and then a tow truck company got it, and they called, and by then it was, if you wanted to pay all the tow truck fees, it was way expensive. So,
more than that, because it wasn't Alex Record Service,
and they never switched over the title. No. But in hindsight, I should have gone and gotten that sucker.
Yeah, they're one of the hot collector's cars right now. There was one of them on the was it the Mecum auction about 2 weeks ago. I was watching that whatever, one of those auctions. And I was watching it late Saturday night about 2 weeks ago, and they had, I can't remember the years, 70s International Scout, the SUV version, not the pickup truck version, because they did have that. $30,000 is where the bidding ended on that thing. I mean, it was nice, but geez, man.
I went to
you would have probably had to put 30,000 into it just to keep it running to this long now.
I went to Cars and Coffee in Houston with the Easterlings that are from here.
Yep.
They used to own
Yep.
Easterling Motors, with James Easterling, who's kind of my age, and his dad. Talk about a lecture in school. I mean, in cars. That is the most fascinating thing. Those guys have more knowledge about cars. They'll just tell you, they'll go, hey, see this little rounded corner over here? That makes it the S version, not the V version. It is more fascinating to see them have that knowledge of thousands and thousands of cars and tell you what's behind it. How's your, are we done with your list, or we have more to go?
Steve Kidder says his is an 87 Mustang. My first car was a 75 Ford Maverick. My grandma bought a new car, gave us the Maverick, baby blue, 2-door. Which, if anybody who knows their car history, that was supposed to be the car that replaced the Mustang. But it was going to be the next Mustang. Too much of an outcry from Mustang aficionados, so they called it the Maverick and sold it as the Ford Maverick. They had a sister car, the Mercury Comet.
God, did they sell the Ford Maverick in the U.S.? I wonder.
Yeah, they did.
Really?
They had a 302 GT version that was actually pretty cool. And then Ford had to scramble, and that's when they came up with the Mustang 2. So I don't know what would have been worse, the Maverick being the Mustang, or you got saddled with that piece of crap Mustang 2 that was built on the Pinto chassis. At least it didn't have the Pinto's exploding problems. Couple other things from the debate. I noticed that Joe Biden blinks a lot when he starts talking BS. Did you notice that? I mean, he starts blinking like a sandstorm, just a haboob just blew into his eyes. I mean, it was obvious.
You think that's his tell?
That is his tell. I've watched it over 2 debates now, and you can kind of tell when you know when he's BSing. So I made a note of that. He threw President Obama under the bus a few times. Well, I was only the vice president. I wasn't the president then. I think it was one exchange that he had in answering a question from President Trump as to why he didn't get anything done. I was just the vice president, wasn't the president. You're number 2 in command, Joe. You got to have a little bit of stroke, don't you?
That's an interesting angle to take for him, because especially after Obama, stumping for him this week, I wonder if Obama's like, I'm out. So it'll be interesting to see if Obama does anything coming out from him doing that.
Yeah. And then what was the other thing that he said that I thought was interesting? He referred to better health care as Biden care. Did anybody notice that? We won't have Obamacare. It'll be Biden care. That one kind of slipped past a lot of folks, but I made a note of it. No more Obamacare. It'll be Biden care. There goes President Obama under the bus again.
But I think that's again, back to they'll throw out, Biden will throw out something like that, but there's no beef behind it. You don't know the bullet points to say, what does that even mean? What are you changing? Are you adding, what are you changing from Obamacare to make it, even if it really is Biden care, or is it the same thing? You just don't know that.
And I thought Joe Biden was wrong when he said that President Trump wants to take away your health care and make it more expensive. I've done the math on my premiums since the ACA. Triple-digit increase in premiums for healthcare since the ACA came into effect, Joe. So I don't know how I would look for anything that would help make it more affordable. You squeeze the marketplace so badly and put up so many roadblocks that there's no way for the ACA and for insurers to have affordable health care for everybody in this country. That's the biggest influence the ACA has had on me as a family is the premiums have increased triple digit percentages, Joe. So he's not taking away if something changes with the ACA, President Trump isn't taking away affordable health care from however many million of Americans he said it would. I would hope, and Joe Biden promised better health care. We had I thought we had pretty good health care options prior to the ACA, but maybe I'm wrong. And then my last point, and then we'll get into something maybe a little more lighthearted as we head into the weekend. This is sort of our debrief, so you don't have to stew over this crap all weekend. That's the way I view this. John Paul and I are taking this burden for you.
Get it out. Get it out.
Joe Biden said there's a parade of first responders, and you're watching a bunch of first responders making minimum wage, and they deserve better pay. What first responders make at $8.25 or $7.25 an hour, Joe? I don't know. None. That's the answer. None. That was a flat out BS lie. And then he said he'll give citizenship to 11 million illegal aliens.
I still don't think that, regardless of what was said, anybody changed their mind. I saw some polls that they were asking, did this lean you one way or the other? It was 99% didn't change. So, I think either way, I don't think it's going to move the needle.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I agree. So you got rid of the International Scout. What was the next car?
Oh, good. Well, that was just I had a primary car. That was like, let's get that car to work on and build, and try to learn a little bit of how to sand a car and Bondo it and whatever else we had to do. Can you even do that anymore? Can you actually sand and Bondo a car anymore? I don't know. I mean, I did the same thing a little bit on the driveway. No idea. You mean, like, why could you do it? Because it's like environmental hazard, or
no? I just don't know because
cars are like fiberglass.
Yeah, because you can't. I mean, you can't hammer out that dent anymore to get to a point where you need a little bit of Bondo in there, sand it down with wet, dry sandpaper. And
I mean, to me, Bondo fixed everything then, so it didn't matter.
You just don't see any cars driving around in that gray primer color anymore when the guy does all his own work in the driveway, but he can't afford the paint job.
Although you do see a lot of the hoods of cars that are different colors than the rest of the car. So I don't know what people are doing that they've lost their hoods. Where did that? I mean, that's a hard thing to lose.
Well, in this town, they're hitting buildings.
Right. You get the Caleb Award.
Yeah, the Caleb Shaw Award. Man.
I had a sports question for you.
Yep.
I know that we've been heavy on politics, but when I'm watching baseball this year, it seems like that now they talk about the shift all the time, which is, and I don't know, this is a new term for me, but they basically move everybody usually over to one side of the field, right?
Yep.
So they move the oh boy.
Yeah, I don't know who this is, but we'll find out in a minute. Good morning, Wade and Carter. James Kirk,
Hey,
what's
James.
up?
That's a good thing because you never know what stories Trey's gonna bring up. So
He threatened he was going to be paying attention this morning, but he might have. He'll watch it at 8:00. So that's good. Him and my mom. Huh? All right. What time does that start? 6 p.m. Good.
Well, there's never enough. There's never enough thank yous we can say for people who have served in the military or first responders. So
Appreciate that. Thanks, James. Thanks for bringing that to everybody's attention. Have a good day. Keep that arm safe, would you?
see you, buddy. So
Randy Langston says he represents that remark. Hood latch gave up at 55 miles an hour, jammed the brakes, and busted the hinges and dented the fenders. There you go. It kind of happened.
But my question to you was about the shift in baseball.
Yeah.
Has that always been around and I'm now just picking up on it, or is it becoming more prevalent lately?
You know, it's been around, never used to the degree that it's being used now. I remember the odd time, Rob Deere would come to bat for Milwaukee, and the guy was just a dead pull hitter. So they might have moved the shortstop over. And the outfield has always shifted based on your tendencies.
For sure.
And the infield a little bit as well. But now you're seeing it, and the Astros do it too. Carlos Correa goes to play basically second base, the hole between first and second. They shift Altuve over behind second base.
Well, I think there was shift in Altuve because he had the yips.
Yeah, well, there's part of that. But yeah, it's being used more prevalently, and I think that's part of the analysis and the data being used is, you've got charts and binders and books on hitters now, and in the past it was just basically your memory. Well, gee, I remember this guy, he doesn't really go the other way with it, so we maybe just shift things a little bit but now the data's there. But the only way to combat that as a hitters are going to have to adapt and start hitting the other way, and then you're going to see players starting to.
But it's crazy.
Play straight up again.
If you're watching baseball right now, their World Series, those guys are shifted so far right to some of the batters that there's not even anybody like up to second plate. It's like everybody they're banking on it so much. I don't know. It's pretty fascinating. And I guess you can solve that, like you said, if you're a hitter, turn it left and.
But the pitchers now pitch in such a way they help themselves out. They're not going to give a ball that's, if you're that right-handed hitter, they're not going to give a ball on the inside of the plate or on the outside of the plate that allows you to go between first and second if they played the shift over to the third base side, right? They're not going to hang a pitch leave a pitch outside. They're going to do everything they can to pitch so you're pulling that ball the way they want it to go. So. But, hey, we're out of time. I enjoyed it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Got to get out of here real quick. World Series is tied at 1. Who do you got, Dodgers or Rays? After game 1, I thought the Dodgers were going to just roll with it, but I'm not convinced either team has everything in the tank more than on a one-night basis.
I'm going to go Tampa Bay. I think they're good.
You think they're good?
Their bats have been strong, but
yeah,
we'll see.
I still think the Dodgers will be the first one since '88. I still think they'll win it. But appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for hanging, and
thanks for having me.
Really appreciate the help with the debate analysis. So
yeah, have a great weekend.
You too, man. Thank you. Bye.
Ownership is a paid programming at KHMC Magic 95 assumes no responsibility for its content, and the Wade and Carter Show bears